Are you ready to get dark? Welcome to John Campea After Dark, the show where we talk about consensual adult sex between one or many partners, where we talk about parking in the handicap spot at the mall just so you don't have to walk that far, where we talk about taking the last slice of pizza when you didn't chip in for it. Dark things, ladies and gentlemen. Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to After Dark. It's good to have you here. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. Good to have you. And After Dark is, well, let's be honest. After Dark is just another form of open mic, really, where I sit here and take your questions. We talk about the things that you guys want to talk about, and that is what we are going to do. We hadn't done an After Dark in like a month, so I figured, Ann and I were up. We had heard, okay, so here's the thing. Ann and I had heard that the new Powerball lottery was like at $2 billion. So neither Ann nor I have ever bought a lottery ticket. Don't even know how to buy a lottery ticket. I literally had to call a friend of mine up and say, how do you buy a lottery ticket? So Ann and I were going to meet some friends for dinner, and we stopped at a little convenience store, and we bought a lottery ticket. Well, we bought 10 lottery tickets. And so we were staying up to watch the Powerball winners, see who the Powerball winners were. And I guess there's some kind of delay going on, and whatever, don't know what's going on there. And now it's time to do a little After Dark, and it's good to have you guys here. Thanks for joining me here today. So I did something today that I've been thinking about doing for a few months. I deactivated my Twitter account earlier tonight. Now, there were two main reasons why. No one reason, but there were two main reasons why. One was, despite the fact that I had over like 100,000, close to 110,000 followers on Twitter, I wasn't using it. Like, I think I put up one social media post, and that was like a couple of days ago, like one post on Twitter in the last couple of months, like literally in the last 2 months. And I just realized, like, because I had realized months ago that Twitter's not a really good place for discourse at all. So I wasn't using it at all. And then Elon Musk bought Twitter. And listen, I'm a fan of Elon Musk. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a fan of Elon Musk. I drive, we have a couple of his cars. I love his cars. I love his advancements in solar technology. I love his, dedication to to stopping global warming and environmental change and stuff like that. And he's a very forward-thinking kind of guy. I mean, he's got a couple of screws loose, no doubt, but a very forward-thinking kind of guy. But he's also very, very hands-on. And I remember thinking, despite the fact that I like the guy very much, I mentioned to a friend of mine a couple of months ago when we heard he was going to buy Twitter that, number one, I wasn't using Twitter much anyway. And he's so hands-on that I didn't feel comfortable that a major social media platform was really going to be under the editorial guidance of one individual, even if it's an individual I like. And so, when I realized I'm not even using the platform anyway, I just decided to deactivate it. Now, look, I might reactivate it in like 3 months, 6 months, a year. Like I'll see how things go, and maybe the tone of Twitter will change and all that kind of stuff. And if it does, great, I might reactivate it. But yeah, I just realized I wasn't using it. And to be fair, to be honest, I haven't been using my social media channels much at all. Like I've got like 35,000. I can't remember how many followers I have on Instagram. I do like using Instagram, but I haven't been using that a lot. I use it like maybe once a week. Facebook, I only use about once a week. But I'm thinking, maybe I'm going to start trying engaging with my social media channels a little bit more. But I just realized Twitter wasn't one that I was using. So I decided to deactivate it. And that's what I decided to do. How do you guys like the smoking jacket? Or is it too sexy? But this is After Dark. Yeah. Too sexy. I gotta reel it in a bit. All right, guys. We are here to talk about the stuff that you guys want to talk about here on After Dark. So let's go over to it right now. A bunch of you guys have already fired in a bunch of things you want us to talk about. So we're going to go over here and start hearing what you guys have to say. So let's get to it here. Going to start off with Ben Rayner. And Ben Rayner writes off, Oh, no, Ben wasn't the first. Oh, yeah, Ben's the first one. Ben writes, is it fair to say that House of the Dragon is more connected to Game of Thrones than The Hobbit was to The Lord of the Rings? I just started rewatching Thrones, and it really feels like the same universe. I agree. House of the Dragon totally feels like the same world as Game of Thrones, but I would actually argue that The Hobbit was probably more connected to Lord of the Rings. I mean, because you had the same characters there. I mean, you had Bilbo and you had Gandalf and you had all that stuff there too. So it was clearly the same world. Peter Jackson recreated and used a lot of the same sets as Lord of the Rings. So it felt very much in the same universe there, but they also had same characters and same connecting storylines, whereas House of the Dragon doesn't really, although House of the Dragon feels very much like the same universe. I love House of the Dragon. It's absolutely phenomenal. But I would personally say, Ben, that I feel like The Hobbit feels a little bit more connected to Lord of the Rings than House of the Dragon does to Game of Thrones, even though they both do like a really, really great job of it. All right. Let's see. Next up, we've got Dwayne Fernandez, who writes, hey, John, why haven't we seen a film that's co-directed with two big name directors? I can imagine the creative chaos, but I'm surprised no studio ever wanted to try it at least once to see if it works. I think no, there's no way it would work. I mean, it's one thing when you ever notice that most co-directors are brothers? Like seriously, most co-directors, when you see that something is directed by two, but it's usually brothers, right? Whether it's the Russo brothers, the Farley brothers, or whatever, it's brothers normally. Or guys like Mark Neveldine and Brian Taylor, who had been co-directing for ages, like since film school. But directing needs, I think, a singular vision and a singular voice. And if you've got two people that actually are so connected and so in sync and have such chemistry together that it's basically having one vision and one voice, that can work from time to time. But it would be just complete nonsensical chaos. Movies would feel like they have a dichotomy of personality. Movies would feel schizophrenic, and then you'd constantly have battles between directors of, when one has one idea and one has another. Not to mention it would be hyper more expensive for a studio to do things that way. So I think it would be an absolute clusterfuck for them to try to do that. Let's get Quentin Tarantino and Christopher Nolan direct this movie together. It would be a clusterfuck. It would be an absolute garbagey mess that I think it's a really good idea that they not do something like that. All right. Let's keep going here. Thanks for writing that in, Dwayne. Jose Miez writes, thoughts on Gears of War movie and animated series. Yeah, we just saw that news come in at the end of today. I haven't really read the story much to get a handle on it. We will do that for the John Campea Show tomorrow, but I'll have to give more thoughts on that a little bit later. All right, Murray Reich writes, pitch meeting for She-Hulk is brilliant. How it should have ended on Jurassic World Dominion is also great. I haven't seen the how it should have ended on Jurassic World, but I did watch the pitch meeting for She-Hulk, and it was great. I love pitch meeting. It's creative fence. I didn't really like She-Hulk. Everybody knows that. But I love pitch meeting the most when it's movies I really like. Like, I don't know why. The guy just has a good Canadian kid, by the way, who runs pitch meeting. I just love the way he approaches things and the way he does things. And his teardowns are the best when it's a movie you actually like. Like when it's something I don't really like She-Hulk, it's still fantastic and it's still great. But I don't know why. I get a bigger kick out of it when he does it to movies and stuff like that I really like. All right. Let's see. Next up. Where are we at? That was Murray Reich. This is also Murray Reich, who writes, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey being released on February 15th, 2023, but for one day only. But nothing on streaming dates. Plus, they're working on a sequel and a Peter Pan Neverland Nightmare film. Yeah, we were talking about that the other day. For those of you who have not seen any of this, I highly recommend you go and look it up. But Pooh, Blood and Honey. I think my mic's a little bit hot. Give me a second here. Everything about me is hot. See what I did there? Let me see here. There, let's go that way. Okay, let me go lower. Okay. I think that's a little bit better. There we go. All right. So Pooh, Blood, and Honey. If you haven't seen the trailer for Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, go look it up. It's a super, super low budget slasher horror film that imagines Winnie the Pooh and Piglet becoming serial killing murderers. It looks amazing. I can't wait to watch. It's going to be awful. I'm sure it's going to be awful. But regardless of that, it looks amazing to me, and I cannot wait to watch it. But they announced that he's going to do the same thing with Peter Pan because, of course, these are public domain stories. So anybody can do a Peter Pan movie. Anybody can do a Winnie the Pooh movie if you really want. As long as you're only drawing from the original source material and you're not drawing from anybody else's iteration of that. So, like if Disney, there was that Ewan McGregor Winnie the Pooh movie that I thought was great. I think it was called Christopher Robin. It's great. But so you can make your own Winnie the Pooh movie, but you can't do a Winnie the Pooh movie and take something that was from the Disney Christopher Robin movie, right? And so the guys who did this are also going to do Peter Pan. And I'll tell you what, Murray, I'm very excited for that. I'm very, very excited for that. I'm looking forward to it a lot. All right. We keep going on here now. Next up, we got Samir, who writes, best thing to come from Canada, in my Texan opinion, John Campea, Ryan Reynolds, Russell Peters, and the bands Silverstein and Sum 41. Don't forget the Bare Naked Ladies as well. Ryan Gosling, so much good stuff. Rachel McAdams, so much good stuff. Denis Villeneuve, so much good stuff coming out of Canada. But thank you for that, Samir. I appreciate that very much. And Russell Peters is hilarious. All right, next up. Jake Camera writes, would you rather wield the lightsaber and the Force or wield Mjolnir and Thor's powers? Oh, lightsaber and the Force. 1000%. And that's not even because I'm just a huge Star Wars guy. I mean, a lightsaber and the Force, that would be incredible. I'll tell you right now, a lightsaber can cut through Mjolnir. There, I said it here. A lightsaber can cut through Mjolnir. So, I mean, that, well, first of all, there's no losing situation there, Jake. I would take either, but if I had to choose one, lightsaber and the Force, absolutely. All right. Next up, we got Brandon Nesmodine, who writes, saw Dear Zoe, fantastic and powerful film. I cried. Yeah, I was thinking about seeing that this weekend. Of course, it's got Sadie from Stranger Things, and it's also got one of the guys from Sons of Anarchy. It looks really good. It looks extremely emotional. We chose to get tickets to something else instead, and then we couldn't, something came up. I talked about this on the John Campea Show earlier today. Something came up and we couldn't go to that either. So I have not seen Dear Zoe yet, Brandon, but I'm glad you did, and I'm very excited about watching it. All right, next up, John Redcorn writes, Wakanda Forever soundtrack is out. Did you hear it? No, I'm not going to listen to it. I want to hear all the music for the first time with the movie the way it was intended to be heard. And I have no problem with anybody else who does it differently. It's just that for me, I want to hear that music for the first time with the movie itself. And I'm seeing it on Thursday, so I'm going to wait. John Redcorn also writes, I have a feeling Strange World is going to flop hard. You don't have to have a feeling about that. Disney's not marketing it. They're just not. It's almost like they're hiding the film now. They are just simply not marketing it. So it's not a big out there hot take to say that it's going to flop. I think it's very, very clear it's going to flop. We'll see. We'll see. All right. Mike is saying in the live chat, dear Lord John, the only thing that you're missing is a pipe. Yeah, I don't do any smoking at all. I thought maybe I should get a pipe, but I don't do any smoking at all. I don't even like to pretend that I smoke. So no pipe, unfortunately, with my outfit. All right. Let's see. That was John Record. Dominic writes, this week and/or episode 10, cannot wait. The Crown season 5, Wakanda Forever, Atlanta series finale, Yellowstone season 5, Tulsa King, and UFC 281. Jeez, Ann and I, we were out for dinner with some friends tonight, and we were talking about what an absolutely crazy stacked week and a half this is going to be. There is so much, or a couple of weeks, there is so much coming out that I'm dying to watch. Yellowstone, obviously, I think is the best thing on TV right now. I've been totally in love with Andor. The UFC 281 is completely stacked. Tulsa King, yeah, just so much good stuff to look forward to, Dominic. It's a good time. It's a good time, my friend. All right. Ismail writes, John, you walk into the theater and you have to choose only one. 1, Deadpool 3, or 2, Superman with Steven Spielberg, Nolan, and Cavill. What movie do you watch? Man of Steel 2 with Henry Cavill, period, I go watch Deadpool 3. Man of Steel 2 with Henry Cavill and Steven Spielberg, the greatest filmmaker of all time, directing. I mean, don't tell Ryan I said this, but yeah, it would probably be Superman with the greatest filmmaker, like the granddaddy of all superheroes, with my favorite guy to ever play the role in Henry Cavill, being directed by the greatest filmmaker of all time. Well, under that circumstance, I think it would have to be. The Superman one. Take Steven Spielberg out of it, Deadpool 3. But with Steven Spielberg in there, I think it would have to be. That one. All right. Thanks a lot for that, Dominic. Or no, that was Ismail. Next up, Casinema Reviews writes, I'm currently working on ideas for an original story. Did you have any sort of process or method when coming up with ideas for the novel you wrote? No, because I didn't decide. Like when I wrote The Pride, I didn't think I'm going to write a book. Now let me think about what I'm going to write a book about. I didn't do that. It happened differently for me. I was actually making my movie The Anniversary. And it was in the midst of making that movie that I had this idea for another story that came to me. And the story was the idea for The Pride. That just came to me. And I played around with different ways to do it. Like I knew I couldn't actually make a movie out of it because it would be, I don't have that money. I knew, and so I thought about doing it as a graphic novel. I thought about hiring some artists and doing it as a graphic novel. That was also too expensive for me to do. I think that really would have been my preferred way of doing the Pride, was to do it as a graphic novel and hired artists to do it, but I didn't have the money for it. So the easiest way for me to do that story was to write it as a novel, and I'd never written a novel before. But it took me a couple of years, but I did it. I'm not going to win any Pulitzer Prizes, but I'm very proud of it. And so it was actually worked in reverse. I didn't sit down and try to come up with an idea. The idea came to me, and then I landed on writing a novel as the best outlet for the book. So that's just the way I kind of I approached it. But thank you for asking about that. I appreciate that, Cinema. All right. Living with Dameron writes, Dirt on My Boots. Oh, God, that song. That song. It was, I'll tell you who it was. It was me, Dorina. Some of you guys will remember Dorina from the Collider days. It was me, Dorina, and there was another friend of ours, and we were in Las Vegas, and we were in a limo. We might have been going to a strip club in Vegas, but there were the three of us, and we were in this limo that was taking us there, and I had never heard the song. And our limo driver, when we first got it, said, "Do you guys mind if I play music? Do you have anything you want me to play?" And we said, "No, just go play whatever you want to play. You play whatever you want to play. That's fine." And I had never heard the song "Dirt on My Boots." And this driver, it was only about 15 minutes to get to the club, but this driver played it like 4 times straight. I guess he loved it. He was like banging out to it in the front seat. Dirt on my boots. And then I wanted to kill myself by the end of the drive. I hate that song so much, but it was the first time I ever heard it. And that was my first introduction to Dirt on My Boots. All right. Next up, we've got Jared Vester, who writes, "Hey John, where's my Manscaped ad?" Yeah, we haven't had a Manscaped ad for a while. I don't think Manscaped has been a great sponsor of the show, but I don't think we have any more ad spots with them booked until like January, February. So we probably won't see them again for a bit. All right. Next up. Where are we at? That was Jared. Next up, we've got Sam Fisher, who writes, "Do you think Tom Sturridge could get an Emmy nom for Sandman Episode 1? Not many actors can carry an episode of TV naked, silent, in a glass case." Look, no, I don't. And he didn't actually do much in that. Like, I think he was great in the show, but though that first episode or two, just sitting there wasn't much for him to do. And while I love the show, no, I wouldn't give I wouldn't give him an Emmy nomination for that. I wouldn't give him an Emmy nomination for that, me personally. All right. Thanks for that, Sam. Next up, Liam Jones writes, thoughts on the film 50-50, always been a favorite of mine and quite underrated. I didn't love it. Like, you had two, obviously I love Seth Rogen, I love Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and the theme of it is powerful. The theme of it is powerful. And there's a few really funny moments in it to break up the heaviness of the film. And I thought it was good. I thought it was good. I don't love it. It's not like on a must rewatch every couple of years list. I'm like, I don't think I've seen it again since, I think I saw it in theater twice. I don't think I've seen it again since. I don't plan on watching it again, but it's in a thumbs up or thumbs down world. I think it's a thumbs up movie. I like it. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. But you know, it's not my top 100 or 200, something like that, but it's a good movie. I enjoy it. All right. Next up, My Comic Planet writes, hey, John, so I noticed your Twitter is down. What happened? Yeah, well, I explained that off the top at the beginning, right? I decided I haven't, just didn't use it. I literally, I think, put up one tweet in 2 months. And, you know, I just thought, you know what, there's just no point in me having it, really. It's an awful toxic place. It has always been that, but it's been a very useful place regardless, right? But anyway, I won't go into the whole thing again. I explained it off the top of the video. So yeah, there's that. All right. Next up, Jared Vester writes, also, got any updates on possible movie commentaries from the crew? Lord of the Rings theatrical version would be really fun to watch with you guys. You know what? We've been so busy at the studio and on the show that we haven't really even sat down to talk about doing a movie commentary. We will. We are going to do one. We will do one here in the John Campea Theater. Now that I've got a final legit theater room. So I've always wanted a theater room. We finally have one set up here. We will do one, but no updates yet. We haven't really talked about it, but it is coming, Jared, and I will keep you guys updated as soon as I know which one it's going to be. All right. Next up. We've got, that was Jared. Sam Fisher writes, I just heard someone say, and I totally agree with this, that the scariest thing Andor is doing is making the Empire seem competent. I like that. I like that. I don't agree that that's the scariest thing they've done, but this is really, the Empire does seem competent. This is the first time maybe ever that the Empire as an entire organization, not just the Emperor who's always been totally badass or Vader who's always been totally badass, but this is the first time we've seen the Empire actually portrayed like this is a functioning organization that could take over the galaxy. Stormtroopers actually induce fear. In the original, even my all-time favorite films, the original Star Wars films, they come across more comedic than anything else. But in this, you see a stormtrooper, it incites fear. And you're right, they actually come across as totally confident or competent and terrifying. I haven't thought of it in those terms before, but I like the way you put that. All right. Thanks for that, Sam. Next up, Angel writes, what a week. We got Andor, God of War, Wakanda Forever. I want to cry with happiness. I am very much looking forward to the God of War sequel coming out, even though I don't even know if I'm going to play it. I'm probably going to buy it on day one for my PlayStation 5, and maybe I'll get around to playing it a little bit, but it's a good week, man. All right, so Isaac Beebe writes, John, why haven't been covering the trailers of any of the promo materials for The Crown Season 5? Are you going to watch the new season? What do you think of the new cast and their respective roles? Well, honestly, Isaac, we've hardly ever covered trailers for TV shows. It's very, very rare that we cover trailers for TV shows. Hell, we didn't even cover trailers for Yellowstone, and that, I think that's the best show on TV. We did do the one story about Yellowstone because the viewership of the trailer broke all sorts of global records, so we talked about the record breaking. Other than that, we only really cover trailers for like big upcoming either DC, Star Wars, or MCU shows, because those are the only things that are really illicit. Not a lot. Listen, a lot of people are excited about The Crown. But The Crown isn't the type of thing that people get excited for a trailer for it. A new trailer for Succession came out, but we didn't cover the trailer for Succession. That's not really something we've ever done per se. But anyway, I really do like The Crown. I like this show a lot, even though I'm not its target demographic. I think the new cast is fascinating, and I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of approach they're going to take with it, Isaac. All right, thanks for writing that in, man. All right, next up. We've got My Comic Planet who writes, it's being reported that Elon Musk is considering putting all of Twitter behind a paywall. I'm sorry, but I feel that would effectively kill the app. Yeah, I don't know that that's true. I don't know that it's true. Listen, Elon is a super smart business guy. That sounds like a really stupid idea. I can't imagine at all that Elon Musk or anybody would think it would be sane to put Twitter behind a paywall, even if it was like $1 or $2 a month. Like, Twitter would die faster than MySpace did. Remember MySpace? Remember that? It was the biggest social media platform of all time, and then overnight it was gone. That is how fast. Twitter would die without it. But I don't believe that story. I don't believe Elon Musk is actually considering that. I don't know. Maybe it's true, but I have a hard time believing that's true. All right. Next up. Sam Fisher writes, Over Under Circus gets a guest spot Emmy nomination for Andor. Hard to say. I don't even know. Listen, if he appears in 3 episodes, I don't know that you can consider that a guest appearance. Like, I'm not really clear on what the Emmy rules are. They're a little ambiguous. But if he is in a 3-episode arc, I think that makes him a supporting actor, not a guest appearance. I could be wrong about that, but that really does seem more like a supporting actor role than anything else to me. All right, next up. Talkin' Entertainment writes, Spirited was tonight's screening. I thought it would be Spirited. I was pretty sure it would be Spirited. Anyway, Spirited was tonight's secret screening, and I walked out about an hour into it. Oh no, the humor and the musical numbers were forced, but in the end, it just wasn't for me. That's unfortunate. So Spirited, for those you don't know, is the new Ryan Reynolds, Will Ferrell musical comedy take on Scrooged. And Regal does this secret screening on Monday nights where you pay $5 for a ticket and you don't know what movie it is. All you know is that it's an upcoming movie. And the last one I went to, it ended up being an Apple Plus movie. And I had a feeling that since this was an Apple one too, and Spirited is about to come out, I had a feeling it was going to be that one. But yeah, anyway, that's too bad that you didn't enjoy it, man. That sucks. I mean, I didn't like the first trailer for Spirited. Again, don't tell Ryan I said that. But I didn't like the first trailer for Spirited. But I really did like the second trailer. I thought the second trailer was quite good. So I've had some pretty high hopes about it. I'm sorry you didn't like it, man. That's stuff. Thanks for giving me the update on it, though. I appreciate that, man. All right. Let's see. That was Talking Entertainment. Next up, we got CJ Rebirth, who writes, So the mystery movie was Spirited, and it's awesome. You see, just a totally different opinion. And it's awesome. The music, comedy, and a whole lot more. I recommend you see it later this week. I mean, this is the perfect example of all screened entertainment is subjective. The art is subjective, right? We had one guy just write in and say, I had to leave an hour into it. We had the next person write in and say, it's absolutely wonderful. Go see it. That's the beauty of the art, man, is that all this entertainment, this art hits us all in different ways. For some it works, for some it doesn't. And I think that's one of the best things about art. Because even if you watch something and it's horrible, the good news is it's probably going to hit somebody else the right way. And I think that's a beautiful thing about the art. So CJ, thanks for giving me your thoughts on it, man. I appreciate that. Okay. Next up, My Comic Planet writes, so Avatar 4 and 5 may get canceled if Way of Water flops. I can't think of another film that has more pressure on it than this one has. Wow. That's not true. Every film has massive pressure on it. Every film has massive pressure on it. And listen, James Cameron said, I remember we did a story about this on the John Campea Show, like well over a year ago, that James Cameron said publicly. I mean, hey, 4 and 5, you never know. Like, we'd have to see what the next movie does. I mean, they're already shooting 3, but I mean, he said over a year ago, we did a big story on this. He goes, yeah, I mean, we plan to do these other ones, but the reality is in entertainment, if you have a plan for 8 movies, but the first one flops, well, they're not going to agree. Remember the most recent Power Rangers movie that came in? That Elizabeth, everybody in the live chat, Elizabeth, why am I freezing? From 40-Year-Old Virgin. I love her. Elizabeth from Hungary. Guys, help me out in the live chat here. Who am I talking? Why am I freezing on her? Banks. Thank you. David D was the first one. I love Elizabeth Banks. Why did I freeze on her name? Anyway, do you guys remember? And also thank you to Blair, Hot Moms, hello there, Jake, and everybody else who's writing in Elizabeth Banks. Thank you guys. Appreciate that. That's why that's one of the things I love about doing live. I can always count on the live chat to bail me out. So you remember that Power Rangers movie with Elizabeth Banks a few years ago? I talked about for a year about how stupid of an idea it was. I actually ended up liking the movie. I didn't love it, but I actually liked that little Power Rangers movie. I thought it was kind of cool. But at any rate, I think, didn't they announce that was going to be like a 9-part, like a 9-part movie franchise? Didn't they say they had, or like 7 movies? So it's going to be part 1 of 7 or something like that, right? Well, that's all well and good to say that. But, you know, everybody's got a plan till you get punched in the mouth. The first one flopped, and so they didn't do any more. That Aragon series, remember, based on the books about the dragons, they were going to do the trilogy, but they did the first one and it tanked. So they didn't do the other ones. I mean, so it's true. It's not just James Cameron. It's true of every movie franchise. You can have a plan to do all these movies, but it's a business. If it financially fails, then you're not going to do the next ones. But let's be honest here. Avatar 2 is not going to flop. The Avatars 4 and 5 are coming. All right. Next up, My Comic Planet also writes, Ryan Coogler said Namor is as strong as Thor and Hulk. Maybe if he's near water, but even then I still have a problem with this. I don't know. They've downgraded Hulk so much, and one of the problems with the MCU lately is that they're overpowering all their characters, right? Now this character needs to be this all-powerful, and now this character needs to be all-powerful, and now this character needs to be all-powerful. Listen, I love the MCU. You know I do, but aside from their constant use of fake deaths, that's one of the problems I see them having lately. And yeah, I think if we go into this and they even hint in the movie that Namor is as strong, and I don't want to hear about the comics, but this isn't the comics. This is the MCU. The MCU is different than the comics. They're two totally separate things. But I think I would have a bit of a problem too if they try to suggest that he's just as strong as the Hulk. But I don't know. Listen, I haven't seen the movie yet. So I'm open to just about any idea if it's done really well, right? Even if it's an idea that I think in advance, well, that sounds stupid to me. How many times have I said that? It's something, a movie or a project or something in a movie or whatever, I say, that sounds dumb. But then I see it, well, and then it is dumb. Or I see it and go, wow, you know what? That really worked. So let's see how I feel about it when we actually go see the movie. All right. Next up, we've got Fanjecture. Hey, Fanjecture. Fanjecture writes, Strange World comes out in 16 days. There's still no advance tickets, and Box Office Pro is saying it may not even hit 100 million domestic. For Disney, that's wild. I'll go one step further. I don't think it gets anywhere near 100 million domestic. Disney has actively hidden this movie. They clearly have no faith in this film, like at all. I have seen zero marketing for this movie. Disney is doing nothing to promote it. They've basically already dug this movie's grave. And listen, I haven't seen it. I mean, I saw a preview for it at CinemaCon back in April, and I didn't think it looked very good, but there are lots of movies that we don't think look good, and then we go see it and we like it. Maybe this was going to be one of them, but it didn't look very good. But yeah, Disney has basically already dug the grave. I'll be shocked, Fanjecture, to be honest with you, if this movie even does get to 100 million. I just don't see any way that it does, unless all the reviews start to come out about it saying it's the greatest film of all time, whatever. Maybe then it gets 100 million. But yeah, they've just basically, Disney has climbed up on the top of that stupid magic castle and yelled to the world, we don't believe in this movie. So if you don't believe in your movie, why should we believe in your movie? You know, that's kind of always been a thought of mine. Anyway, thanks for that, Fanjecture. Next up, we got Alan Jara, 91, who writes, My girlfriend wants to know which of the blue people came first, the blue avatars or the blue people on Black Panther 2. She'll be watching. Yeah, not many people know this is the big crossover of Avatar and the MCU. These the not many people know this. Namor of Talokan, he's actually king of the Na'vi. In this big crossover, the Na'vi come back to Earth. It's a wonderful, wonderful crossover. But yeah, so yeah, there you go. All right. Let's see here. You know what? I was going to take a break, but we haven't gone long enough for a break yet. So give me a second here. And I'm going to load up some more questions that you guys have been sending in. And there we go. We got more questions loaded up now. Let's see. Where did we leave off? We left off with, gosh, where did we leave off? Oh, now I'm way too far down. Give me a second here. Alan Jar, okay. Okay, I'm ready. Let's get back to it here. Let's see. Wayne Joy writes, I love Spirited tonight. There's another vote for Spirited. I love Spirited tonight. It's a musical with songs from the Greatest Showman songwriters, lots of laughter from the audience. Yeah, that's one of the things that really appealed to me, because you guys know I love the Greatest Showman. I think the Greatest Showman is frickin-tastic. I love that movie. And the music in it is awe-inspiring and moving, and it touches you, and it's just great. So that's one of the things that really did turn me on to the idea of this when I heard that they wrote some of the songs. So thank you for telling me about it, Wayne, and thanks for sharing your opinion on it. All right. Next up, we got Murray Reich, who tips in like $20. Thank you, Murray, for supporting us on that level, man. And Murray writes, while I don't hate Halloween Ends as much as many people do, I still found it disappointing. The trailer was a misdirect. Yeah. I did like the ballsy move they tried to do. Unfortunately, they never paid off. 2018 was the better ending. You know, it's crazy. I've never liked the Halloween franchise, but then the 2018 one came out and I loved it. I love the 2018 one. I thought it was fantastic. And so when Halloween Kills came out, I thought this is going to be great because the last one was great. And Halloween Kills, in my personal opinion, I thought it sucked. I was really disappointed. And then this one, you know, they promoted it as the final showdown of Michael and Laurie. It's not even about them. They're not even really the main figures of the movie. And you're right. You're absolutely right, Murray. It's a misdirect. It was an absolute misdirect. And I agree with you too, that in concept, it's a ballsy move to try to do something really unique and kind of different, especially for something as predictable as a Halloween franchise. But it didn't work. It didn't work. So yeah, it's unfortunate that's the way it's got to go out. But at the end of the day, out of all the Halloween films, there's only one I liked. And I liked it a lot. And that was that 2018 one. So in my mind, in my headcanon, that was the last Halloween movie, was the 2018 one in my headcanon. All right. Thanks a lot for that, Murray. Appreciate that, man. And thanks so much for being so generous and supporting our channel, dude. All right. Zach Milley Talks Movies writes, do you remember when you were small getting 20 views? Oh, yeah. Listen, I'll be honest with you. It just feels like yesterday that I was doing the movie blog. You know, I was doing the movie blog. And I was putting up 4, 5, 6 posts a day on my movie blog and, you know, getting 1 to 2 to 300 views a month. 1 to 2 to 300 views a month. And I thought that was great. And you know what? I still believe, I still take, I have the same mentality and the same approach as I did when I was a blogger with under 500 people as an audience. And, you know, now today, I think October we had, 7.5 million views in October. Maybe it was 8.5 million views in October. I can't remember. Like numbers that I never dreamed or imagined we would ever get. Like at the end of the day, I am still a fucking nobody. I am a fucking Canadian nobody who, right now I'm talking to you from my converted garage, and I still take that approach that I am a nobody film fan that just loves talking about movies. that's what I love to do. And at the end of the day, I hope that that's what our shows are, that we are a bunch of collective nobodies, me in particular, and who just like to get together with our fellow film fans and just talk about movies, talk about the things we love. That's what I hope to do. So yeah, I remember, I remember very well when I was making posts and doing videos and podcasts for 50 people, 100 people, 300 people, whatever. But we try to take the same approach today now that we get, I don't know, when we do, like today we did the John Campea Show, we had 6,000 people watching live. We had 6,000 people in the live chat at any given moment. And the show's going to end up with like 50,000, 60,000 views just of the one episode. And that's great, but it's still super, super tiny to compared to real YouTube channels. Like the real YouTube channels are the ones they put out a video and they get like 500,000 views in a day, right? Like that's so way out of my league, but it's also not something I aspire to. Like you guys will recognize I've never done anything on my channel just because I think it'll get views. Like that's why I don't do trailer reactions. No disrespect to trailer reactors, because good trailer reactors, like Real Rejects and Day One and all these guys, a huge amount of respect for what they do, but it's not my thing. It's not what I do. And I know I could get a lot of views if I just did trailer reactions. I could get a ton of views, but it's not who we are. It is who some other channels are, and that's awesome, and it works for them. But it's not who I am. And so we try to keep the same mentality and the same approach, doing something like doing a live stream at night in some silly ass looking red smoking jacket thing. It's just our approach. But yeah, I remember it very well, Zach. I remember very well because it wasn't that long ago. All right. Thanks for that, man. Next up, Alan Jara writes, which season of Bad Boys is your favorite? Is there a Bad Boys TV show? If you mean which of the three movies, to be honest, Bad Boys for Life was my favorite Bad Boys movie. But I'm not, you said serious, I'm not sure. Was there a TV series? Anyway, I'm not aware of any TV series if that's what it was. All right, next up. Mr. Graham 91 writes, that robe screams masculinity. I love it. Thank you, Mr. Graham. I appreciate that very much. You've softened up my ego. Thank you very much. All right. Next up, Laura Howard writes, have you seen the new trailer for Plane with Gerard Butler and Mike Colter? No, I have not seen the trailer. I heard there was a trailer for something that was that, but I'm not familiar with it. I have not seen it. But let me tell you this. I love Gerard Butler. I had a chance to meet Gerard Butler first time because I mentioned Mark Neveldine and Brian Taylor. They're a couple of buddies of mine. And when they were directing their movie Gamer in New Mexico, they invited me to stop. I was driving from Canada to LA and they invited me to stop off in New Mexico on the way and visit them on set. That's where I first met Sam Witwer, actually. The Star Wars trivia icon and terrific actor in his own right, voice of Darth Maul and Emperor Palpatine, all that. Anyway, that's where I first met Sam Witwer, because Sam was also in Mark and Brian's movie. And I got to meet Gerard Butler, and just a super wonderful guy. I love him in just about any movie he's in. I like him in very, very much. Mike Colter is like a man's man as well. I totally love that dude. So I'm interested, but I haven't seen it yet myself, but I am interested. Thanks a lot for that, Laura. Oh, and I just noticed, Laura, you also tipped in like $20 of super chat to support the channel. Thank you so much for that, man. That's really generous of you. Thank you very much, dude. All right. JDSCT writes, no, John, too sexy, Antonio. I must open my smoking jacket a little bit. No, too sexy. I don't want to crash the internet. I gotta be careful. I can't open this up too much. It's, too much hotness can melt the internet wires. Gotta be careful. Gotta protect those internet wires. All right. Next up, Windwalkers 57 writes, you're a Leafs fan. I am. Die hard, bleed blue and white Maple Leafs fan. What was your reaction to the David Aries game? Do you think Disney can get a decent movie out of it? I'm I'm honestly not exactly sure what it is we're talking about. I'll be straight up honest with you. I'm not sure exactly what it is we're talking about. If you're talking about if this is something recent, I haven't been able to follow anything since the Ducks game that I was at. So I'm not really clear on that, unfortunately. Sorry about that. I got all excited when this the first time somebody's going to ask me a Leafs question. I got all excited and I can't answer it. I apologize for that. All right. Let's see. Next up, where are we at? That was Windwalker. All right. Next up, Rampage Predacon writes, John, what are your thoughts on this Saturday's UFC event? Could Adesanya lose to Pierre? Listen, I understand the guy beat Stylebender in I think it was a kickboxing match. That's great. This is a different sport. I would love to see the upset. I think that would be great, but I think Stylebender wins that. Zhang easily wins the women's title. I don't think that fight gets to round 3, to be honest with you. And then you got the Poirier-Michael fight. Daniel, Poirier and what's Michael's last name? I'm freezing on his last name. Anyway, you got that fight. I think that's going to be fight of the night. It has the potential to be fight of the year. So we'll see how that goes. It's going to be a great card. I can't wait. Chandler, thank you, Techie. Chandler versus Poirier. That has the potential, all the makings to be a fight of the year. So we'll see how that goes. All right. Matthew writes, hey, John, first time super chatter. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate that very much. Hope you and the gang had an awesome day. Seeing Black Panther tomorrow night, and I'm so incredibly excited. Yeah, I had a half day today. So I actually had to leave the studio today after the John Campea Show was done because I had something quick I had to do at home, and then I had a checkup at my doctor's. So I had to go in and do that. And it's a new doctor we have, so it was my first checkup with our new doctor. So I wasn't there in studio when they did Weekly Hero. I really wanted to be there for that because they did the Weekly Hero for the first time live today. Because we've been doing Weekly Hero with Rob and Chris. We've been doing that show as a pre-recorded show and then putting it up on Monday nights. But we decided to try it live. And honestly, that was producer Jonathan's idea. Jonathan Voico had the idea to let's replace Monday's open mic with making Weekly Hero live. And I don't know, you may or may not know this, like Jonathan Voico, producer Jonathan, he is second in command at the John Campea Show. He's second in command of Carson Drive Media. His official title is he is our director of operations. And he came to me and said, I'd like to try making Weekly Hero live at 3:00 on Mondays. And so I took that and I thought about it. And I said, you know what? That's a really good idea. So, and I wanted to be there with them today. So I wasn't able to be there. But yeah, Black Panther, I don't see it until Thursday. Very stoked about it. I'm seeing it 3 p.m. on Thursday. Super stoked about it. I'm sure everybody else in the world is too. Cannot wait to finally watch this movie. And so thanks for writing that in, Matthew. And thank you for becoming a super chatter. Appreciate that very much, man. All right. Let's see. Next up, Richard K. writes, I know your favorite Superman is He-Ray. You probably meant Henry. That's probably a spell check thing. I know or autocorrect. I know your favorite Superman is Henry, but I'm in the minority as mine is Dean Cain. What's your thoughts on Dean's Superman and the show in general? I honestly saw like 2 or 3 episodes of his show. It wasn't for me. Again, I don't crap talk on the show. I didn't watch enough of it to crap talk on it. It's just, I saw a couple of episodes of it back in the day, and it just wasn't for me. That's all. I mean, it just wasn't for me. That's okay. So I know a number of people who are big Dean Cain fans, like big fans of his Superman and Lois's show and all that kind of stuff. And that's great. But unfortunately, Richard, it just wasn't for me. But I'm glad you liked it, man. I'm glad you do. All right. Richard also writes, with James Gunn being good at directing team movies like Guardians and Suicide Squad, could we get a James Gunn directed Justice League? If love it. I don't know. Now look, I would be all for James Gunn directing a Justice League movie. I would be all for it. But I think he's going to have to limit how much he actually directs, because he has a full-time job now. And his full-time job now is being the top executive at DC Studios. He runs an entire studio. And I still believe he's going to direct once in a while. But something like a Justice League movie, like, I just don't know how you direct a Justice League movie and continue to run your studio. Like, it's going to be hard enough just to direct a regular DC movie, like a Superman movie or a Flash movie or a Green Lantern movie or whatever. That's going to be hard enough. But a full-fledged Justice League movie, I mean, that's him having to like literally step away from his more important job of running the studio for like 3 years. So while I would be all for James Gunn directing a Justice League film, I would be all for it. I don't think he will. I think instead he will oversee the development of that film. He'll handpick a director that can have their visions align and do it that way. But I don't see him like getting hands-on and just straight up directing it himself. I don't think he'll do that, but you never know. It's always possible. All right. Next up, Collins E. writes, just got back from the Regal mystery movie. I was hoping for Fabelmans, but it was Spirited. Still really good. Yeah, I mentioned this the other day that I was 100% sure it was going to be Spirited because the last one ended up being an Apple Plus movie. So I knew it was going to be this one. Still was interested in it, but did not see it yet myself. But you know what? From all the good things I'm hearing back about it, and the second trailer got me on board and really did charm me. So I'm looking forward to watching it. Thanks for sharing that, Collins. Appreciate that. All right. Next up, Future Millionaire writes, John, having the Hero Show live was a great idea. Gives fans a chance to interact with Rob and Chris. I actually watched it for the first time myself. Well, again, I will take full credit for greenlighting moving it to live, but all credit due to producer Jonathan. It was his initial idea to take that show live. And he convinced me it was a good idea. And I'm glad they did it. And I'm glad you enjoyed it, Future Millionaire. Appreciate you sharing your thoughts and the feedback, man. All right. Next up, DAL writes, do you think that A Man Called Otto, that's the new Tom Hanks movie, will be better or worse than the Swedish original A Man Called Ove? I just hope they keep it as dark as it was in the original. I have high hopes for it. Well, listen, I've never seen the original Swedish one, to be honest with you. And quite frankly, to be honest, I never even heard of the original Swedish one until this one got announced and they mentioned it was based on, whatever. But Tom Hanks did say, I remember hearing Tom Hanks talk about the fact that this was going to be a darker version of him than audiences are accustomed to seeing. And listen, if that's true, I'm all for it. Because what we saw of Tom Hanks in Elvis, playing the Colonel in Elvis, I didn't love Elvis, but I really did quite enjoy it. But the performances in it, were fantastic. And Hank's doing that. And if he's going to lean a little bit more that way in Otto, I think we're in for something really good, DAL. I really think we are. So I hope it's good. All right. Next up. Saneyou.com writes, when can we call something a masterpiece, aka Andor? I mean, you can call something a masterpiece whenever you want. That's the beautiful thing about subjective interpretation, is that if to you it's a masterpiece, you can call it a masterpiece. Just don't expect other people to agree with you necessarily, but you can call something a masterpiece whenever you want. However, when it comes to something like a TV show, I would say at least wait till the season's over. Like, for all I know, like, I'm loving Andor, but for all I know, the last 3 episodes are going to be crap. I'm not expecting them to be crap, but you never know. They could be. So at least wait until after the season's over. Then take a step back, take a breath, and if you want to call it a masterpiece at that time, then it's a good time to do it. All right. Let's see. Next up, we have Chris, who writes, you mentioned your wife plays Magic the Gathering. Yes. Do you play, and what colors do you normally run? Yeah, I literally have cabinets. I'm not exaggerating. We have cabinets filled with MTG stuff. Filled with it. Thousands of cards, tons of boxes and dice and cases and sleeves and everything you can shake a stick at. Now, we haven't played regularly in a while. It's been, we haven't honestly played regularly since before the pandemic. Once the pandemic came around, we really got more into playing more heavily Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. But my primary deck was an all white deck. I loved my all white deck. Anne was more, she had a real thing for a red and green deck that was surprisingly effective. But I liked my all white deck. I was not undefeated using my white deck, but I very rarely lost when I would use the white deck. But anyway, that was my choice. But we haven't played regularly for a couple of years now. But we really enjoy it a lot, and we still go to, like, Ann and I will still, maybe about one night a month, we go, you feel like going to a gaming store? Yeah. And we'll just pick a gaming store somewhere, go to it. We'll go in, we'll look at all the Dungeons and Dragons stuff and all the Warhammer stuff. And we'll always start browsing through the MTG cards. We'll always do that still. All right. Next up, let's see. Where are we at? That was Chris. Next up, Brandon Beal writes, I just lit a fire in the fireplace and sit down and I see John Campea After Dark. You can keep the Powerball. I am already winning. Oh, thank you so much, Brandon. By the way, did you see what was going on with the Powerball? So they were supposed to announce the Powerball winner at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 p.m. East Coast Time. But apparently they had a technical difficulty and they weren't able to announce it, like some kind of drama is going on with it. So I don't know. Have you guys heard if they've actually announced the winning numbers yet? Ann and I bought our first lottery tickets of our whole lives earlier tonight, just for this Powerball draw. Affair is saying technical foul play. Maybe no, apparently they didn't get hacked or anything. It was that one of the states had not met one of the certain requirements and that it caused a delay in the announcement. I don't know all the details, but it was something like that. All right, Neil before Zimmer is saying that the results are still pending. The results are still pending. Yeah. So it'll be interesting. Again, Ann and I have never bought. I'm not a lottery ticket person whatsoever. But even when we heard, it's worth $2 billion, whatever. We'll stop at the gas station, convenience store, and buy a ticket. Why not? I mean, just whatever. I'm not going to become a lottery ticket buyer, but for $2 billion, even I think they said the odds of you winning are like 1 in 300 million. So you're not going to win. But at $2 billion, it's worth at least putting your hat in the ring and seeing what happens. All right. Thanks for that. All right. That was Brandon. Next up, we've got Ifran writes, love from India. Oh, thank you, Ifran. You know, I've always been amazed how many viewers we have from India. It's always like the third or fourth biggest traffic country. You know, after it's the US, it's the UK, it's Canada, then I can't remember what the other ones are, but then right up in there in the top 5, top 10 is India. I've always been amazed how many of our viewers are from India. We get a lot of people who write in from India all the time. Love it. I actually got to try to visit India someday. I've never been to India, and maybe someday we've got to do a John Campea Show meet and greet in India. I think I would have a lot of fun doing that. All right. Next up, we have Alan Jara 91. Who writes, I was never interested for the Spider-Verse movies coming out, but now that I know Spider-Punk is in it and who's voicing it, I am now so interested. I'll tell you what, Alan, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is the best Spider-Man movie ever made. I go back and forth on that with that and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, the one with Doc Ock. But yeah, I honestly think maybe the best Spider-Man. It's way better than No Way Home. Like, I love No Way Home, and I love Far From Home, and I love Homecoming, and I love Spider-Man 1, and I really like the first Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield, and all due respect to all those movies. But Spider-Verse kicks the ass of all those movies. You definitely got to go check it out. And I heard Daniel Kaluuya is going to be doing the voice of Spider-Punk. That's great, but I just don't get excited about popular celebrity actors doing the voices of a character in animation, because 9 times out of 10, a properly trained professional voice actor would do a better job. But, they cast these famous actors just because they can put their names on the posters. And I love Daniel. I mean, he's amazing. But if it was a live action Spider-Man movie and he was cast in it, I would be significantly excited. Doing a voice, that means he's going to go into a studio for about 3 days. He's going to speak into a tin can for 3 days and he's going to leave. When a full-time professional voice actor, that's all they do is voice acting, 9 times out of 10 will deliver a better performance. I would have rather those roles go to them because they're going to deliver a better movie. But it is what it is. Again, I love Daniel, so it's going to be interesting to see, but I cannot wait. They showed us like almost 20 minutes of the new Spider-Verse movie at CinemaCon. Guys, it looks like it's going to be every bit as good as the last Spider-Verse movie. I cannot wait. I'm so stoked for it. All right. Next up, we've got William Duan, who writes, one of two. I finally saw Black Adam in theater. The critics totally got the movie wrong. No, they didn't. It's a brilliantly made compilation of the most classic filmmaking mistakes. It bordered on comedy of calamity for me. I was genuinely chuckling as it danced from one poorly executed trope to another. Well, I mean, no, I gotta say this, William. I always laugh when somebody says the critics got it wrong. And I'll say to them, which critics? Because if in the case of Black Adam, what is it? I think it's like 50% or something. Hold on a second. Let me look this up. Black Adam, Rotten Tomatoes. So Black Adam on Rotten Tomatoes right now has a 40% critic rating. Now, as bad as that is, right? As bad as that is, 40%. Think about it. That means if you got 10 film critics in a room, 4 of them liked it. 6 of them didn't, but 4 of them did. So what I often say to people is, well, when you say the critics got it wrong, which critics are you talking about? Are you talking about the critics that liked it or the critics that didn't like it? And ultimately, when somebody says the critics got it wrong, and I know you're half speaking with tongue in cheek there, William. I know you are. But this it just opens the door for me to talk about this for a second. When somebody says the critics got it wrong, that's just fanese speak for some of the critics didn't think of it the same way I thought of it. That's ultimately what it's saying. Saying the critics got it wrong means there are critics who didn't think of it the same way I thought of it. Therefore, that means they're wrong. Well, when you say the critics got it wrong, well, almost half of them liked it and half of them. So which ones got it wrong? Are you saying the ones that liked it got it wrong? Are you saying the ones that didn't like it got it wrong? See, it's just one of these things that we as fans do that's really irritating. It's really irritating. But again, I know you were saying it with half tongue in cheek. I get it. And I appreciate your comment. But that just brought it up for me. That's a little thing I like to talk about. All right. Thanks a lot for sharing that, William. All right. Alex Ekhan just sends in a super chat to be supportive. Thank you, Alex. Appreciate that, man. Alan Jara writes, Andor is for adults. I will be sad if no season 2. Oh, no, they're doing season 2. They actually start shooting it. I mean, they might be shooting it already. If not, then season 2 starts shooting very, very soon. There's absolutely... Hey, listen, I've been saying about Andor for a long time. Andor is Star Wars for adults. Not that you're not an adult if you don't like it. That's not what I mean by that. I just mean, whereas a lot of Star Wars is created for family-friendly adventure, family-friendly sci-fi, all that kind of stuff, most Star Wars is not specifically targeted at adults. Andor is Star Wars for adults. And I think it's the best thing. I love Mandalorian, but I think this is the best thing they've had on TV so far. I love this show. All right. Let's keep going on here. Next up, we have, who was that? And that was for Andor. Now, Town Matt 12 writes, Hey, John, coming from Norfolk County, Ontario. Nice. Just bought a Mac Mini today for the family, and it works great. Love the show. Listen, I'll tell you what, that Mac Mini with the M1, I'm assuming you got the most up-to-date one with the M1 processor in it. That is the best value in computing today, is that Mac Mini. With the M1 processor, I've got a MacBook Air with the M1 in it, and it's terrific. And for I think $400 or $500, that Mac Mini is a just a fabulous computer to have at home. Now, listen, if you want to do heavy video editing or effects work or stuff like that, you're going to want something a little bit more powerful, maybe the M1 Pro or the M1 Max or whatever. But I'm doing this show right now on a MacBook Pro with the M1 Max chip in it. So I can do a lot of video editing and all that kind of stuff. But that M1 Mac Mini is a fabulous, fabulous machine. It's really great. So if you've got a quasi-limited budget, but you want something that's really going to pack high performance per dollar, it's hard to go wrong with an M1 powered MacBook Air or Mac Mini. If you need the portability, get the MacBook Air. If you don't need it to be portable, your best bang for your buck is that Mac Mini. So I think that's a great purchase, man. All right, next up. Isaac Beebe writes, when is Movie Club returning? I want to see the Shawshank Redemption and Back to the Future. I don't know if we'll do Back to the Future. Well, no, I take that back. We won't do the Back to the Future trilogy, but we'll probably do Back to the Future. Shawshank Redemption will be the next one up. I'm going to say maybe December. December is probably when we'll get around to doing it. I originally thought November, but November has been getting very, very busy, and you'll find out why pretty soon. But November's been getting very, very busy. So I'm going to guess sometime in December we'll probably do Shawshank Redemption. And then sometime in the new year for Back to the Future. All right, thanks for asking, Isaac. Appreciate that, man. Izzy A writes, how did you meet Rob? His knowledge of film is great. Rob and I first met, there was a show I created back in the AMC days called Heroes. And I got, it took me a while, but I convinced John Schnepp to host it. And I was on the show with him, and one day he told me, hey, I'm going to bring in this guy I know to be a guest, because he was bringing in the guests. I would let him, he would pick the guests, and he did a great job of it. And he would bring in the guests, and one day he said, I'm bringing a friend of mine named Robert Meyer Burnett. I said, okay, great. So he came in, and we did Heroes together, and we hit it off, and we became friends. And then, when some unfortunate stuff went down at Collider, and when Rob was kind of left out in the cold with all the stuff that went down at Collider, I said, hey, man, what do you want to come do videos with me? If you need somewhere to go, do you want to come do videos with me? And he said yes. But yeah, that's how we met. We met on AMC Heroes through John Schnepp, and that's how Rob and I met. All right, thanks for asking, Izzy. Next up, Manta writes, loved the Swamp Thing series from a few years back and mourned the show's cancellation. Have you seen it? What are the chances of the show is revived? I don't think it has any chance of being revived, to be honest with you. I thought it was pretty okay. I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't think it was great. But I enjoyed it. The problem with that show, and the reason why I watched it late, is because the first episode aired, and I didn't watch it right away. But as soon as the first episode aired, do you guys remember this? I'd never seen anything like it before. The first episode aired, and then they immediately announced that it was canceled. They were still going to play the rest of season 1, but right after the first episode came out, they announced that they canceled the show. And I'm like, how stupid is that? Why would you, okay, it's fine. You decided you're not going to do a second season of the show. Fine. But why would you announce that the show has been canceled just as it starts airing its first episode? Why not wait until after the first season is done and then announce that it's been canceled? They literally cut the show off at its knees by announcing that it was canceled before the second episode even came out. It was one of the most idiotic things. And so what happened was, even though I was planning on watching it pretty quickly, I heard it was canceled. I'm like, well, okay, I guess I don't need to bother watching that. And then it took me months before I watched it. And once I did, I'm glad I watched it. It was good. I didn't think it was fantastic, but it was good. But again, they never gave that show a fair shot. Because if they knew they weren't going to do another season, that's fair. But don't cut its knees out by announcing to the world, we think this show sucks, so we're going to tell you that we're canceling it, even though we only aired the first episode. Come on back and watch the rest of the episodes, everybody. I mean, what kind of an idiot move was? I'll never understand that. I will never understand the way they did that to that show. They did it dirty. All right. Next up. That was Manta. Next up, we have Amir, who writes, sometimes, John, you make my day. I swear God thanks everything you do. I don't think God thanks me for what I do. I thank God for what I get to do, but I don't think God thanks me. But I get what you're trying to say, Amir. Thank you so much for that. That's a really kind thing for you to say. So I appreciate that very much, man. All right. Sam Fisher writes, where do you find Yellowstone on streaming? I'm only seeing it on Peacock. I think that's where I watched it. I think I watched Yellowstone on Peacock. I'm not sure if it's on Paramount Plus or not. I honestly don't know, but I caught up with it and watched it all on Peacock, I believe. So, but believe me, there are certain things, like, come on, let's admit, we all signed up for Disney Plus so we could watch The Mandalorian, right? It's worth signing up to Peacock. First of all, I think Peacock's a very good service. It's a stupid name, but I think Peacock's a terrific service. But even if you're not totally sure, Yellowstone by itself is worth the subscription price, which I don't know, was what, $6 or $7 a month. So totally worth it. If you're on the fence about it, trust me, go and check it out. And then I'm not sure if it's on Paramount Plus or not, but it would make sense if it is. All right. Next up, Philnix writes, chance, let me bring him up on the screen. Chance that Violent Night will outgross Black Adam. 0% chance. That movie is not going to make $300 million. No chance. But I'll tell you what, I'm excited about it. There is a local film festival here. Like I announced to you guys that I've taken myself off of every studio's press list. That being said, a film festival that is playing Violent Night this Saturday invited me to come down and watch it. So Ann and I on Saturday, we're going to have to come back and, we're going to DVR or PVR, whatever the terminology is now, the UFC fights. But we're going to go watch Violent Night on Saturday, this Saturday. And yeah, I cannot wait to watch it. I thought it looked stupid at first, but you know what? The trailers have totally won me over. David Harbour, it looks like it's going to be really funny. So, but there is zero chance of making there's no way it makes that kind of money. Just, it will not. But I'm very excited to see it, and I can't wait to tell you guys what I think about it. All right. Let's see here. Next up, we got Isaac Beebe, who writes, if we don't get at least one scene in The Crown Season 5 where Imelda Stratton, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that last name, as the Queen wears an all pink outfit, I'm going to be very disappointed. Well, I mean, I guess it all depends on which scenes they're trying to recreate and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see. Again, I'm just looking forward to it. It's one of those shows that I never would think in a million years would appeal to me, but it's quite good. Again, it's no Yellowstone, it's no Succession, it's not Andor, it's not House of the Dragon, but it's much better than I thought it would be, and I've enjoyed it. All right. Next up, we've got Clavinum. I hope I'm saying that right. It says, the Regal Monday mystery movie was spirited. We've had several people write in and tell us that. I just got out of it and I thought it was really funny. Well, listen, that's like 4 or 5 people. We had the first person who wrote in said they didn't like it. They had to leave. But the 4 or 5 people since, including yourself, man, are saying it's really quite good. So I'm glad to hear that. Again, I didn't like the first trailer, but the second one won me over. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. Thanks for giving me your opinion on that one, man. All right, next up. Our friend Daryl Best Wadley writes, finally watched Community, Parks and Rec, and The Office. Nice. I honestly, for me, Parks and Rec, I like Community. I like it quite a bit. I like it very much. But Parks and Rec and The Office are 2 of the top 3 greatest comedies of all time, in my opinion. It's in no particular order. It's Parks and Rec, The Office, and Seinfeld. Those 3 to me are the all-time funniest TV shows ever made. I can still watch, like I'll load up Peacock, and every once in a while Ann and I will just play Parks and Rec roulette or The Office roulette, where if we're sitting down to have dinner and we want to pop something on, we just load up Peacock and go to Parks and Rec and then just kind of close our eyes and just hit random buttons going through the episode list and then hit play and just we'll watch whatever comes on because we know every single episode will make us smile and make us laugh. I'm so glad you got caught up in those, Daryl. I'm glad that you did. All right. Let's see. Next up, We have Daryl Best Wadley again writes, what happened to 21 Jump Street reboot with Tiffany Haddish and Awkwafina? Just rewatched the first two. I really want part 3 of the original. Honestly, I don't know. I know nothing about it. I do know this. We just talked on the show the other day that I don't know if Jonah Hill would do it, but I really think Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill absolutely should come back and do more. I think they should absolutely come back and do more. I think it's a totally bad that they have not done it, and I think they should do more. All right, guys, listen. We've been going a little over an hour now. So I'm going to take just a minute. We don't have too much more to go through, but my voice is getting a little raw. My drink is empty, unfortunately. So we're going to take just a 3-minute break. Give me 3 minutes. Use the bathroom, grab something to eat, talk amongst yourselves, do whatever you'd like to do. Don't go anywhere, guys. We will be right back. Thank you so much for your patience and indulgence as we took a little bit of a break there. Now let's get back to your questions here, shall we? Okay, we left off with Daryl Best Wadley. Next up, we've got the man with the master plan writes, nice robe, John. Where did you get it? I want one. I am not going to lie. I can tell you I went down to Beverly Hills and I dropped $4 to buy it. But the reality is, I paid, I think, $12 on Amazon for a Hugh Hefner. I went on to Amazon. I searched like Hugh Hefner smoking jacket, whatever. And this came up. It was like $9 or $10 there. I exposed myself that I'm a cheap bastard, but yeah, that's where I got it. I got it on Amazon. All right. That's where I buy most of my clothes because I have no fashion sense. All right. Next up. Where are we at here? We're at Edgar Navarro writes, I'm so pumped for this week. 3-day weekend, God of War and Wakanda Forever. Can't wait to see more Latino representation on the big screen. I mean, listen, there's so many reasons I'm looking forward to that movie. But new faces, new talent, more representation, all that stuff is good. But I mean, just at the end of the day, what really matters is the movie good and it looks fantastic and it sounds like it's going to be great. So very, very excited for it, man. And yeah, a lot of good stuff coming out this week. All right, next up. Cinema Reviews writes, thanks for the tips about how you came up with your novel. So far, I just have a premise and I'm trying to build a world around it. What's the pride about anyway? The pride is, it's a little bit of, how do I explain this? It's a little bit like Highlander with dragons. So basically the pride is about a kid named Pietro. And he discovers that he is a dragon. That his family, he comes from a family of dragons, that he never knew this. But in this world that I've created, Petros Did I say Piotr? I was thinking of something else. Petros is his name. It's based on the biblical name for Peter. Anyway, Petros discovers that his family, it comes from a lineage of dragons. And then what happens is the story jumps back and forth through time, going back to like 2,000 years ago, back to present day, to 1,500 years ago to present day, to like 500 years ago to present day, and how the story unfolds with the mystery that's going on currently. And I love it. I'm very, very proud of it. So that's what I did. Anyway, good luck on yours, man. It's always a fun thing to do. All right. Next up. Let's see. The man with the master plan writes, also just tuned in, and I can't say I disagree with you. What constitutes a view for your videos? Sometimes I had to rewind to watch segments due to work. Does that mean you got multiple views? I don't think so. I don't think that's how it works with YouTube. I think with YouTube, if I start watching a video, like YouTube knows I watched the video. If I go away from the video and I come back to it, again, don't quote me on this, but I'm fairly certain that still just constitutes one view. Now, if I go away and come back and watch another one of your videos, that counts as a view too. But I think if I start watching a video, go away from it, and then come back to it, I'm pretty sure, because YouTube also remembers where you left off, right? So if you watch a video and you get halfway through it and then you go away, when you come back, it will pick you right up where you left off. So it remembers that you were there. It remembers that you watched this video. And so I'm pretty sure, although don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure it will still constitute one view. I'm fairly certain about that. But again, don't quote me on that. I can ask my YouTube rep at some point, but I'm pretty sure it counts as one view. All right. Next up, we've got Alan Jar 91 writes, I messed up. I meant The Boys, not Bad Boys. Okay. That makes sense. For those of you who don't know what he's talking about, Alan earlier writes, what's your favorite season of The Boys? And I'm like, what's your favorite season of Bad Boys? I'm like, favorite season of, I mean, if you mean which movie is my favorite, you meant The Boys. Okay. Boy, it's either season 1 or this most recent season. They were very, very close. I love this newest season. Absolutely loved it. But the first season is just so special because it was our introduction to this world. So it's close. It's close between those two, Ellen. All right. Windwalker writes, David Ayres was the Zamboni driver goalie. Oh, I remember that now. Okay. Now I know something about that now. I still can't remember entirely. I'll have to go and look it up, but that now rings a bell, Windwalker. That now rings a bell. All right. Because didn't he play like a couple of games? I'm trying to remember the specifics about it exactly. I'll have to go and look it up. Anyway, but it doesn't sound like something. If you can make Rudy into a movie, you can make that into a movie. All right. Man with the master plan writes, crap. I meant I agree with you, LOL. No, you're right. You agree with me when you said, I can't say I disagree with you. That's the same as saying I agree with you. So don't worry about it, man with the master plan. Totally got what you were saying. All right. Quinn Udi writes, I went to the hotel where the Florida Project was filmed. Nice. That's honestly one of Willem Dafoe's better performances. Anyway, it was filmed when I went to Disney World. Have you ever seen that film? Yep. One of my favorites from A24. Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe he was nominated for an Academy Award for that film. Yeah, it's a really good movie. Again, one of his better performances in his career that is filled with great performances. And he just continues to be a powerhouse. That must be really cool. I love being able to visit actual places where movies are shot. All right. John Devitt writes, best movies for a first date, a New Flame incoming. Well, that's a really good one. Honestly, for me, the best first date movies to me are comedies. Because, first of all, movies are experiential events, right? And if you're going out to a movie with somebody, what better kind of shared experience to have than laughter? So for me, a really good comedy, or at least a funny action film or a funny something that you're going to have a lot of laughs at, That to me is the best first date movie in my opinion. So good luck with that. I hope it goes well for you. All right. Final question of the evening comes to us from Bacon Jedi, who writes, any new information on that office project? So we have had in development for a while a podcast called The Office Virgin. And The Office Virgin, the premise of The Office Virgin was very, very simple. Robert Meyer Burnett has never seen The Office. And so we thought it might be a neat idea for us to do a podcast going through all the episodes of The Office with somebody who has seen all of them multiple times, with somebody who has never seen them, aka The Office Virgin, and kind of do a podcast on that realm. Right now, we meant to launch this a couple of months ago. We even shot the first episode. We did the first episode. We never aired it, but we've got the first episode done. And then some very interesting things started to happen behind the scenes. I unfortunately cannot talk about what those things are. I will talk about them eventually, whether they work out or not. Even if it doesn't work out, I will tell you what it is, but it's something that's still in process right now. It's very exciting. Like, it's not world changing or anything, but it's very exciting. I'm excited about it if it actually comes about and comes to be. But even if it doesn't work out, I will tell you what it was. I just can't say anything about it right now. So I'm not really sure when we will start with the Office Virgin. But either way, I will tell you this thing that I have to keep to myself right now. But I'm pretty excited about it, and I cannot wait to share more with you. All right. With that down, guys, hey, listen, tomorrow on the John Campea Show, Christian Harloff is going to be on the show with me and Robert. It's going to be me, Robert, Kaylee, director, Jonathan, Ray. So full house tomorrow. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think we're going to play another game of movie quotes. We did our first game of movie quotes. Actually, if you're in the live chat right now, if you saw today's show, did you guys see, I'm talking to you guys in the live chat right now. Did you guys see the game we played, movie quotes? Because we've done a couple of games. We do Over Under. I love that game. We did Password, which I really like. And then today we did movie quotes. Just what did you guys think of movie quotes? So Miss is saying they loved it. Eric is saying yes. It's better if the quotes were shorter. Well, yeah, but you can't do quotes too short because it's got to give the full quote of a movie for somebody to recognize it. Otherwise, if it's too short, then it's going to be too similar to quotes in a lot of other movies. Anyway, Sky is saying that they did see it, but it went too long. Actually, I thought it was too short, so thank you for that feedback. Some people saying they liked it. It looks like it's too hard to play. It was fun to watch. Better if the quotes were harder. Well, I mean, here's the thing. Only one of them got guessed on the first quote. I think it was the one that Kaylee got, but that was the only one, the one for Wonder Woman, right? None of the other ones got guessed on the first quote. So there's that too. Anyway, I think we're going to give it another go tomorrow. It'll be Rob versus Christian versus Kaylee versus Ray, and we'll see how that goes. Anyway, it should be fun on the show tomorrow. All right, guys, that'll do it for us for tonight. Thank you so much for being here and joining me on After Dark. I will see you guys again in the morning. I'm now going to be up till 3 a.m. probably writing the show notes for tomorrow, so I gotta get back to it right now. Thanks a lot for being here, guys. My name is John Campea for After Dark and myself. Thanks for being here, and until next time, my friends. Bye-bye.